Hey YouTube, it's your boy Daysag. Welcome to Belfast. Very excited to be here in Northern Ireland. We're going to be going embarking on a very nice tour, a city tour on an open bus. It's going to take about an hour and a bit minutes to tour the city of Belfast. Let's see what Belfast has to offer. Cha-ching! Thank you. Thank you so much. So we made it to the Belfast City Tour bus. Got a brochure. In this brochure it says there's gonna be 19 stops from start to finish. It's gonna take about an hour and 30 minutes. So sit back, enjoy Belfast.
Welcome to Belfast. My name is Seamus. I'm your driver and your guide. And just a few wee house rules as we move through the city. If you can remain seated at all times for your own safety, anybody looking off the bus today, just ding the bell, stop Titanic Museum, and I will be stopping for the Titanic. There's no need to panic. I'm starting to sound like a poet, and I don't even know it. And then, guys, we're going to head up to South Belfast, Queen's University, the Botanic Gardens, and then over for the International Wall, Peace Gates, the murals, the Memorial Gardens, and the Peace Wall. So you're in for a bit of luck today, as I'm the only driver who does it. When we get up to the Peace Wall, I'm going to be stopping the bus and give you as markers and pens, and you can get off and sign the Peace Wall, as this is the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement with Joe Biden and Bill Clinton up a few months ago, signing the wall. So it's something you can tell your children or your grandchildren that you signed the Peace Wall on the 25th anniversary. So with a lot to see, let's get the show on the road. On the left, it's the Victoria Shopping Centre. And this is where all our high-end shops are. The House of Fraser. Only reason I know that, it says it on the building. But you can get the lift or the elevator up to the top floor, where you'll find a large glass dome. Gives you a nice view of the city. Well, especially today, we've no rain. So we're the only country in the world that has 7 different types of rain. Yep, 7. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But today's a nice day though. But the Victoria Shopping Centre was also the last building to be bombed during the conflict. And we'll be talking more about the troubles as we go through the tour. Over on the left, the little yellow fountain. This is the Jaffe Fountain. It's dedicated to the first Jewish Lord Mayor of Belfast, Otto Jaffe. Next to it, it's Brittle's Bar, the smallest bar in Belfast. It's famous for having a wake, an Irish wake. But the only difference between an Irish wake and an Irish wedding, one less drunk. Just one. Coming up on our left is the Prince Albert clock, but it tilts 4 feet to the right hand side, as it was built on marshy reclaimed land. And another reason they say why it tilts the ladies of the night, they would have congregated round the clock. Straight in front of us you'll see a large blue fish. This is called the salmon of knowledge. But it's said that if you kiss the fish, you'll gain much knowledge. I think if you kiss that fish, the only thing you'll gain is an infection. I'll give that a miss. But we're going over the Queen Elizabeth Bridge. This was designed by Sir Charles Lanyon, a name that you will hear frequently through the tour. But down to the left is the River Lagan, and under the footbridge it got a new tidal weir to help to purify the water, and some strange reason it actually worked. And they've now introduced 9 different species of fish, including the salmon. But we're now going to go into the Titanic Quarter. Belfast is divided up into 6 quarters. Yep, 6. The Gaeltacht Quarter, Titanic Quarter, the Linen Quarter. Mathematically speaking, I don't know how that works, 6 quarters. But I suppose it makes us a city and a half. We're a city and a half. But coming up straight in front of us is the SSE Arena and the W5 Science Centre for Children. The where, what, when, why and who. But the SSE Arena is also the home of the Belfast Giants ice hockey team. How in the name of Jesus we ended up with a nice hockey team in Belfast is beyond me. We can't even roller skate here. One of the names, before they called them the Belfast Giants, believe it or not, was going to be the Belfast Bombers. Yep. But we originally had Belfast Bombers here, and it'd been down like the Titanic. Straight in front of us up on the hill, you see a white building. That's Stormont. Our Parliament buildings, but nothing much happens up there. As they're always out having talks, and there's even talk, they're going to be having talks about those talks. And if those talks are successful, no doubt about it, they'll be having more talks about those talks. There's just a lot of talking going on up there. The only people that are working up there are the window cleaners. Over on the right is the Peroni building. It's Northern Ireland's public records, dating back to the 17th century. So if you're looking to retrace your family tree, that's a place to be. Coming up straight in front of us is the Titanic Museum. So guys, we're going to go up and turn and come back down for our stop. But it stands 90 feet tall, and that's the exact height the Titanic was when she left. And when she left, she was built by Irish men She was sailed by an Englishman. She was fine when she left here, not a scratch on it. On the left you'll see the large brown poles coming up out of the ground. That's the dry dock where the Titanic left from. She was the largest moving object in the world. On the left is the Titanic Studios. This is where all our interior filming work is done. Game of Thrones and Dungeons and Dragons. So we're going to go in here, guys, do a little handbrake turn, and come back down for our stop. Over on the right, the little grey ship. That's the HMS Caroline. And she's the last remaining ship from the Battle of Jutland, 1916, off the coast of Denmark. The battle lasted 36 hours. It was one of the largest naval battles in history, but it's now a floating museum. Guys, look over to the far left at the foot of the mountain, and you'll see a brown building. That's our castle, Belfast Castle. No one lives there, just used for formals and weddings. But over on the right-hand side of the ship is the Titanic Whiskey Distillers. You can go in there, do a little tour around it. They still have the pump house. As at the far side is the Thompson Stock, where they built the Titanic. So you can also go around there, have a little look around that one. But straight in front of us, the stained glass window. This is celebrating 10 years of filming Game of Thrones throughout Northern Ireland. But there's actually 6, and this is one of the first ones. I can see if I can point out another few as we go through the tour. Coming up straight in front of us is the first of 2. The largest cranes in the world, Samson and Goliath, and they can lift 850 tons each. And the mosey up and down there at 0.5 miles per hour. Blink and you'll miss it. But they were also built by Harland and Wolff, who built the Titanic. But they didn't come along till 1969 and 1972. And a better view of the Titanic Museum is it's built in the shape of a star, reflecting the White Star shipping line, and they just added 5 new galleries for the Titanic experience, from her birth here in Belfast to her final destination at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. So we're now coming up for our stop for the Titanic Museum. And as they said on the Titanic, we're going down. Come on down. Fine, love. My name is Seamus, your driver, your guide, absolute dog's body. Over on the right, the little white ship. That's the SS Nomadic. She's the last remaining ship of the White Star shipping line. But she was also a tender ship for the Titanic when she ferried first and second class passengers out to the Titanic off the coast of Cherbourg in France. That's the reason the French flag is flying on it. But it was later used to ferry American soldiers out to their battleships during World War II, until she finally came back to Belfast, where she now is moored and used as a floating museum. But some of the more famous people who have walked her boards, James Cameron, he came to get an inspiration for the Oscar-winning film, The Titanic. But this area we're travelling through, this is Queen's Island, and it marks the entrance to Harland Wood Shipping. It was the largest shipping company in the world at the time, and we would have had 25,000 people come through here each morning for work. 15,000 for the construction of the Titanic, and it was built at the cost of $1.5 million. Today's money, it's more like 450 million. But sadly, the only shipping we do nowadays is ship repair and wind turbine assembly, along with our linen mills and our flax mills. Sadly all gone. But we're now leaving County Down and heading into County Antrim. And down to the left, this is the east of the city. So this morning we'll be going through the east, west, north and south Belfast. But some of the more famous people who came from the east, George Best, who the late Pele said was probably the best footballer in the world, Van de Man, Van Morrison, and C.S. Lewis, The Land, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Chronicles of Narnia. But we're going over the Queen's Bridge, and at the end of the bridge, the large lady structure, it's called the Thanksgiving Beacon and commissioned by Andy Scott. But people in Belfast, they don't call things by their proper names. They don't call it the Thanksgiving Beacon. No. They'd call it the Bell on the Ball. The Thing with the Ring, Nula with the Hula, or a total waste of bloody money. On the right through the trees, this is the law courts, and the building next to it, it's the High Courts of Justice. But you'll notice the walls surrounding the High Court, it's 15 feet tall, 6 feet thick, and reinforced in steel, and it was built in 1972 to help protect the building from car bombs. So guys, we're just doing a little detour in around this part as the traffic is bad. But on the left, that's a waterfront conference centre where Barack Obama, he addressed an audience of 5,000 students, and he told them that Northern Ireland held the blueprint for peace and stability in the world. But coming up on our left, is St. George's Market. And it's one of the largest indoor markets in Europe. And you'll just about buy anything in this one. And it's open today. But it was also used as a mortuary during the Second World War, where 900 victims were let out here when the Luftwaffe gave us a flying visit. Anybody for the market, ding the bell. No, all happy enough. Hello. Just got tickets? Yeah, come on ahead. Message come through our. And when they arrived, they went up to the north of the city and they bombed the waterworks. People were wondering why they bombed the waterworks. Well, it wasn't going to be long before they found out. When the Luftwaffe returned and they bombed the dockland areas and the surrounding areas with fire bombs. So there was no water to put the fires out, and Belfast burnt. So we're now making our way up to the back of the City Hall, and it was built in 1898 and completed in 1906, and it's built in Portland stone, the white stone that you'll see today. As it ages well through time, but it's mainly used for death registering, weddings, council meetings, and it was originally our Parliament building until they moved up to Stormont, where they do absolutely bugger all. Over on the right, the second monument is the largest in the world to all those who perished on the Titanic. But unlike the Titanic, everyone's named in this one alphabetically, not by colour, class or creed as they did on the Titanic. And it doesn't say Jack or Rose on it either. On the right, the large white building, it's called the Danske Bank. But in 1994, it was the Northern Bank, and it's seen the largest cash withdrawal in Irish history. 26 million was taken out of the bank in broad daylight. Not a shot was fired. No one was hurt or injured. They just walked up the street with 26 million, but only 1.5 million was ever recovered. And the money's now out of circulation. It's not much good to anyone. Well, maybe the odd bus driver. So if you're looking to buy any Northern 50s or 20s, come and see me at the end of the tour. But my name is Mickey O'Flaherty. But coming up on our right is the Grand Opera House. Some of the more famous people performed here. Opera singer Pavarotti. But it's next door to the most bombed hotel in the world, the Europa Hotel. 90 bombs were left in this one. 34 bombs went off. And the funny thing is, during one of the bomb attacks, the Grand Opera House was showing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. But coming up over on our right, through the trees, you'll see a white building. This is the city hospital. Prince Charles, he came to open the hospital, and he was overheard saying, "This is the most ugliest looking building I've ever seen in my life." Well, the locals weren't very happy about this, and then I call it the Camilla Building. That's terrible. It's a lovely building, lovely. On the left is the Trade Market. It's made up of old steel shipping containers. And open at lunchtime, this is a very, very popular one, this one. But one of my recommendations, coming up on the left, is the Points Bar and Grace O'Malley's. And they've traditional Irish music every day of the week, where you can learn to play the bodhrán, the Irish drum, for free. It's named after the 5 Points in Manhattan, in Lower New York, where the Irish first arrived. But we're now going through Shaftesbury Square. It's named after the Earl of Shaftesbury, and he donated a lot of money and wealth to the people of Belfast, and in return they named a lot of streets and avenues after the Shaftesburys. Coming up on our left is Lavery's Bar, and they claim to sell 1,000 pints of Guinness a day, and that's just between me and my mates. Over on the right, through the trees, is the smallest park in Northern Ireland, and it's the King William Park. But it says when King William arrived, he stopped in this park to rest his army. Well, there must have been about 4 of them in his army, unless they were having a barbecue. But we're hanging up to Queen's University, Botanic Gardens, and the Ulster Museum. Queen's University was designed by Sir Charles Lanyon, where we have the Lanyon Building. And when it opened the doors on your left, there were only 200 students. There's now up to 20,000. Some of the more famous students who attended Queen's: the late David Trimble, Ulster Unionist leader; poet laureate Seamus Heaney; and a famous Hollywood actor. "I've a certain set of skills. I will find you. I'll get you and I'll kill you. Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sorry, wrong film. Liam Neeson, of course. So on the left is the Botanic Gardens and the museum. And in the Botanic Gardens, we have a tropical rainforest. We have a rainforest where it never bloody stops raining. And up the white building on the left, that's the Ulster Museum. And it has an Egyptian mummy. Well, I don't know where the daddy is, the mummy's there. Over on the right is Methody College. Some of the more famous students who went to Methody: Hollywood actor and heartthrob Mr. Jamie Doran, where a lot of filming work was done for The Fall, but starred Jamie Doran, and also Kenneth Branagh, the guy who directed the Oscar-winning film Belfast, and also starred Jamie Doran. But we're now going to go into one of the worst streets in Belfast. I hate this street, as it has the most speed bumps and ramps in any one street. But it is on the tour, so we gotta do it. But these houses on the right and the left, during the 60s and the 70s, they were to be known by the high end of society. Judges, doctors, lawyers, solicitors, bus drivers. They're mainly used now by the students, where you'd have 10 to 20 students in any one house. That's just the bottom floor. But the reason you would know it's a student area: the trees need cut, the bins need emptied, and the students don't like to pull the curtains or draw the blinds. So you'll see some ungodly sights coming down this street. On the right, this large house called the Gregory. It was previously owned by Thomas Andrews, the guy who designed the Titanic. On the left, St. Matthew's Church of Ireland. It was built in 1870, and when it was being constructed, they brought over the Italians to do the interior in Italian marble, and they never left Belfast. Very famous family in Belfast, not for their Italian marble, but for their Italian ice cream, and they're called Morelli's. You'll find their ice cream parlours throughout the city. The road in front of us, and this is the Lisburn Road, brought to Kilmainham Jail in Dublin, where he was later to be brought out to face the firing squad, along with his signatories, all those who signed the proclamation. The only two that weren't executed was Countess Markovich. She was the only female, and Eamon de Valera, he held American citizenship. So the James Connolly Centre is on your right, with the statue of James Connolly. On the left, through the large black gates, this is College na Firsta. It's one of the largest Irish-speaking schools in the province. But our first mural coming up, it is to Pat Finucane, a human rights activist, lawyer, solicitor. In 1989, He was sitting at home having a meal with his wife and children when UVF gunmen entered his home, shot him 15 times. His mural is on your left. Also on the left, this one is to the War of Independence, 1922, where Liam Morrow's, Joe McKelvey, Richard Burnett, Rory O'Connor, they were all executed by Irish Free State Army in Mountjoy Jail. And for some reason, they targeted Rory O'Connor the most. And he was shot that many times, his clothes actually caught fire. But this area we're travelling through, this is the Gaeltacht Quarter, the Irish Quarter. You'll notice the street signs are in English and Irish. Over on the right, this church-like building, this is Cultureland. It's an Irish cultural centre. They have a nice Irish restaurant, an Irish souvenir shop, and an Irish bookshop. They also have flags flying there. These are a red flag with a white circle, and they're for the Irish Language Act. The red is for the anger people feel that the Irish Language Act is still not implemented, and the white circle is for the Fanya, a level that you would progress to during Irish speaking. Over on the right is the RVH, the Royal Victoria Hospital. It's one of the largest hospitals in Europe, stretches for 2 miles square, but it's also where the portable defibrillator was invented by Frank Partridge. On the left is St Dominic's Grammar School for Girls, and some of the more famous students who went to St Dominic's: President of Ireland, Miss Mary McAleish, Katie Mallower, singer-songwriter. One of my sisters, well, I don't actually know what she was famous for. She was always out the back of the bloody school. But as we cross over this set of traffic lights, on the left you will see a little red shop, and it's called McPeak's. But it used to be a bakery, a home bakery, and the bakery was called Monica's Bops. Bill Clinton arrived. You know where I'm going with this one, guys. And he got out of his car to meet Mr. Jerry Adams, who just happened to be standing there. Oh, Jerry, imagine meeting you here. But Bill's face, it soon turned red when he realised he was standing underneath Monica's Bops. Jerry, I didn't have relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. Aye, right, Bill. Over on the right, this little park, it's called the Dunville Park, and it was donated to the people of the Falls by the Dunville family, that it would always remain a park. No houses were ever to be built, and it's still a park today. It still has the original water fountain on it. So guys, get your cameras ready. We'll be stopping for a few moments for this one. It's on the side of the Sinn Féin headquarters. Sinn Féin in Irish is ourselves alone. This one's going to be of Bobby Sands. It's on your left-hand side. Look over your left-hand shoulder. Now, over your left shoulder. Bobby Sands was the first of the hunger strikers to die on the 5th of May 1981, after 66 days on hunger strike, and he also became an MP, a Member of Parliament for Fermanagh, South Tyrone, and they were looking at 5 demands for political status. Those 5 demands were eventually met after 10 hunger strikers had died. So guys, keep your phones ready or your cameras. Over on the right, you'll see a large black letter H. It's remembering the H blocks, the nickname given to the prison where the hunger strikers died, Long Cash, on your right. And there are the 10 hunger strikers, 5 on each side, but the 2 in the centre, they are 2 former hunger strikers, Michael Gaughan and Frank Stagg, and they died in 1974 and 1976 while on hunger strike in England. Next is a garden of remembrance to D Company of the Provisional IRA. They would have been the domineering force along this stretch of the lower falls. Over on the right is more recent murals, but there's one there in particular of a British soldier surrounded by women, and it's remembering the curfew of 1970 when the British Army had the lower falls on their curfew. And on the right, the second last mural is young Patrick Rooney. He was the youngest to be murdered at the start of the Troubles. He was 9 years of age, and he was shot dead in those flats directly facing us, the Divis Flats. But when the British Army arrived in 1969, they took over the top 2 floors. It's called the Divis Tower, and this structure wasn't on the roof. It was just a flat roof, and the only way that they could get their supplies was by helicopter. And it wasn't a small helicopter, it was a large Chinook. So you can just imagine living beneath the top 2 floors with a large helicopter landing on the roof morning, noon and night. And we're now going to go along the international wall to our left. The first mural there, the black and white one, that's James Connolly, the leader of the 1916 rebellion. And next to him, Nelson Mandela, and his famous quote, "In my country, we go to prison first, and then we become president." And next to him, the guy with the beard and the moustache, is Francis Hughes, the second to die on hunger strike. Next to him is the INLA, the Irish Nationalist Liberation Army. The next one has me baffled, confused. The guy with his hand on his chin. What's Burt Reynolds doing on the international wall? But we're now going through a set of peace gates. This is a set of 2. And these gates will close at 7 tonight by the police. Open at 7 in the morning. We're now going through no man's land. And as we come through the second set of gates, you'll notice the murals are turning back to British, Loyalist, Unionist, Protestant. It's another high interface area. But guys, look away up to the far left, and you'll see what looks like a church. This is a monastery, Clonard Monastery, where secret peace talks were held between Mr. Jerry Adams and the late John Hume. These talks were that secretive, the leadership of the IRA knew nothing about them, but then they become known as the Hume-Adams Initiative, the blueprint for the Good Friday Agreement. We're now going round to the Peace Wall. That's not the Peace Wall in front of us, that's somebody's back garden, Johnny Depp. But I suppose that would make a good peace wall, Johnny Depp peace wall. The peace wall's coming up, straight in front of us. But as we come up to the wall, guys, look down to the left. There's another set of peace gates. It's also a set of two. They'll also close and open at 7 by the police. So as we make our way up along the wall, I'll explain. I'm born and reared here, lived here my whole life. At the outbreak of the Troubles, August 1969, this road did not exist. The wall did not exist. It was 15 streets running left to right. Bombay Street, Cooper Street, Conway Street. Every house in every street was being burnt to the ground as the two communities were at war with one another. Factories, hotels, bars, restaurants were being bombed and burnt. Fatalities were high. We were on the outbreak of civil war when the British Army arrived as a peacekeeping force, and where the wall is, they put up barbed wire fencing, keeping the two communities apart. So the wall started to rise to what it is today, standing 45 feet tall. So guys, if you would like to sign the wall, come down and I'll give you markers and pens. It's the only wall in the world that you can vandalize, get away with it. So come on down and I'll get a wee smoke.
So we made it to the peace wall of Northern Ireland. And here we're going to write a message of peace. That nothing will ever happen here again in the name of peace.
People who come up to sign the wall. We've had the Dalai Lama, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and more lately there Nicole Kidman. She was up filming The Northman. Bill Clinton, he wrote on the wall, "Now Donald, that's what you call a wall." But these 6 boxes on our left, they were put there to help protect their signatures and their messages of peace and hope. But a lot of bus drivers and tour guides, they don't realise, as we come up to the end of this section, if I was to go to the left and then the right, the wall, it will continue for another mile. Shopping centre, and it's free. It's about all that is bloody free in Belfast. On the left is St Anne's Cathedral, and housed on the left hand side is the largest Celtic cross in the world. But you'll also notice there's a spike coming up out of the roof. And it was donated to the people of Belfast by the Lord Mayor of New York as a symbol of peace and hope. And it can comfortably accommodate 1 pigeon. But they also call it the rod to God. The only person to be buried in St Anne's Cathedral. Any Line of Duty fans on the right. Belfast Public Library was used as police headquarters in the Line of Duty. So we're now making our way back into the city centre for our final stop. But over on the right is Castle Court. It's one of the largest shopping centres in Belfast. And there's a lot to do in this one. And the only reason that I know that, my missus, she's never bloody out of it. Actually thought she worked there, she's in it that often. And if you're looking for Cali Cellars Bar, on your right, up the side of the Primark building, you'll see it there, it says Guinness on the roof. 300 years old, guys. You get a nice bowl of Irish stew, wash it down with a nice pint of Guinness. But we're now driving over an underground river. It's called the River Farset, and it flows all the way up from the west of the city, down the high street in front of us, under the Albert Clock, and out to the River Lagan estuary. And it's still flowing today. Farset is Irish for Belfast, Belfasta. These large brown structures coming up out of the ground on the left, these are for the White Star shipping line, and they name all the ships they built: the Titanic, the Oceanic, the Nomadic, the Lusitanic. All their ships ended in the letters IC, and that was their trademark. Straight in front of us, guys, there is the City Hall, and you can go into the City Hall and get a free tour around it. Or the guys who be standing outside with the large yellow umbrellas, and they offer a free walking tour, and they'll walk you around the city for 2 hours for free. And the only way they get their wages is through tips. You just give the guys a tip. And just right behind the Christmas tree, there's a statue of Queen Victoria. And she arrived in 1859 to give us city status. But she only stayed for 2 hours. Well, thank God for that. As I named half the...
So this marks the end of the Belfast City Sightseeing Tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed it. Travel with Isaac. I'm out.